Good evening, and welcome back.
It's cookie time.
Oh my god, it's cookie time. I was just thinking, why didn't the alert work? Because I activated all the overlays again. Now that we're not playing Syndicate anymore, but I don't actually have them in the Historical Research Center. But we do have Edinburgh. Welcome in, Maxi, and good evening to you. I hope you had a good time today with GTA. I'm really glad that the game is working for you again as well. Just so annoying when you have to deal with technical issues like that, but yeah, that game is so good, so I'm glad that you can carry on with it. And yeah, thank you so much also for the 64 months of resubbing. But yeah, things are going pretty good. Been having a nice chill Sunday over here. Well, it was also partly productive, I guess, but yeah, nothing like too major. And yeah, when I carry on with the timeline, now that we finished Syndicate, we're gonna now play the game that's based on the novel by Jules Verne, Around the World in 80 Days. And yeah, I've been quite looking forward to this because it's not really the type of game I play very often, I guess, you know, being like entirely narrative based. I have of course played like a few of those games, like Pentiment I guess would be a comparable, maybe. But yeah, for me it's like also the source material that I just deeply love, the novel, and growing up I used to listen to the audiobook based on the novel quite often. And I don't know, it was always like a story that deeply fascinated me. You know, seeing how technology advanced so quickly, and we had things like the railroads being built across the Americas, which allowed for, you know, much faster traveling overall. And of course now we're at a point where, you know, it doesn't even take 40 hours or something to get around the world. So I don't know, I like that, especially, you know, in the late or mid to late 19th century, that's something that felt outlandish to people, because the 80 days back then weren't of course entirely realistic, but it was certainly a prediction of what's to come. So yeah, I do love the novel that it's based on, and earlier today I've been even looking for movie adaptations of a novel, and I came across one from 1956, an American production, and that one is a whopping 3 hours long. But it's quite interesting because it was more like they actually had a bit of a documentation part before the movie even started, like just talking about technological advancements and talking about the author. And you know, that movie came out in 56, so that was definitely in the very early stages of, for example, space exploration. Like there already had been sent some rockets into space, but it wasn't like, you know, super common yet. And that actually had another kind of like made it so that this movie came into people's mind again, because obviously we had an entirely different way of looking at the world from the outside. So yeah, I quite enjoyed that so far. Gonna see if I get to finish that movie later tonight. Also, I've added something to the stream, Maxi. You will be happy to know that we can now zoom. Thanks again for creating that script, dude, because that's actually really then helpful for the scene, since the screen is smaller and like the capture, so it's nice, you know, being able to zoom in without having to do it manually in the browser. And also that it's following the mouse, the tracking. I had to get it working. The fix was to change screen mode to extend instead of duplicate screen. Ah. Huh. Yeah, sometimes it's like the weirdest things that lead to causing issues or being the fix. But I'm glad to hear that it, you know, is working again. That's right, yeah, I also saw that there's a movie with Jackie Chan, which I've never seen, I don't think. But yeah, I might actually go on a like spree of watching like a lot of the adaptations of a story, because yeah, it's definitely one of the stories that has been adapted many times. There's even a David Tennant 2021 movie adaptation apparently. But that one is supposed to be quite awful. But yeah, went totally beside me, like that adaptation. Hello there, Shella, welcome in, dude. Ahoy there. And yeah, it's going good. Gonna start a new game today, 80 Days, based on a novel Around the World in 80 Days. It's a bit like a narrative, narrative focus, and you also have a bit of like traveling, managing, I guess, aspect. You're gonna plan your own route, and you know, it has quite a bit of replayability apparently, because each playthrough could be totally different as to which travel route you're going for. And then in each city you're visiting, you can like talk to people and stuff. And plan the next step. How are you doing, Sheila? But yeah, dude, it's definitely very useful. I like it. But yeah, so before we go into the game, I would actually like to highlight a little bit about the novel it's based on. Because the game is not gonna, you know, fill us in straight away with like all the backgrounds. Nor it's meant to be like a identical representation of a novel or even the time. In fact, the game has a bit of a steampunk twist, which means there's gonna be technologies and means of transportation that didn't exist the way it's displayed in the game. But as I said before, it's not like the novel has been entirely realistic either. But certainly more realistic than, you know, the game's representation of the time is. There was someone who made a similar script, but they only got it supported up to OBS v28, so they made one for the newer versions. That's really good that you did, because that's something that often happens, of course, that people create like assets and, you know, for example, mods for games. And then the games get patched or the software, and it renders them, you know, entirely unusable to the average user. So yeah, thank you for doing that. Thank you for the lurk, Sheila. I hope you enjoy your dinner. Hope it's something delicious. So if I'm ever tired of actually reading myself, we can also just let it be read for us.
Around the World in 80 Days, French, Le Tour du Monde in 4 jours, is an adventure novel by the French writer Jules Verne, published in French in 1872. In the story, Phileas Fogg of London and his newly employed French valet Passepartout attempt to circumnavigate the world in 80 days on a wager of £20,000, equivalent to 2.5 million in 2024. Set by his friends at the Reform Club. It is one of Verne's most acclaimed works.
Well, for the most part, it wasn't awful for being text-to-speech. But yeah, the name is Passepartout. Instead of whatever he said there. I also liked his attempt at the French here. But yeah, that's the Australian English text-to-speech voice. But yeah, a small wager, right? Like just 2.5 million in 2024. We need a Rod text-to-speech. Yeah, Rod just trains an AI voice bot with multiple streams that he's doing. And then, you know, it creates like an entire voice model. Easy. Phileas Fogg is a rich British gentleman living in solitude. Despite his wealth, Fogg lives a modest life with habits carried out with mathematical precision. He's a member of a reform club, where he spends a large portion of his days and nights. On the morning of the 2nd of October 1872, Having dismissed his valet for bringing him shaving water at a temperature slightly lower than expected, Fogg hires Frenchman Jean Passepartout as a replacement. Jesus, imagine shaving water that is slightly too cold. That night at the club, Fogg gets involved in an argument over an article in the Morning Chronicle, or the Daily Telegraph in some editions, stating that with the opening of a new railway section in India, it is now possible to travel around the world in 80 days. He accepts a wager for £20,000, half of his fortune, from his fellow club members to complete such a journey within this period. With Passepartout accompanying him, Fogg departs from London by train at 8:45 p.m. To win the wager, he must return to the club by the same time on the 21st of December, 80 days later. They take Fogg's remaining £20,000 with him to cover expenses during the journey. So that's the rough plot summary here. And this is the path they're taking. We're not going to follow that ourselves to the dot. Though it would be interesting if one could actually recreate this route in, like precisely. But yeah, so they're going from London to Suez, Egypt, then to Bombay, India, with a stopover in Aden. Then from Bombay to Calcutta, from Calcutta to Victoria, Hong Kong, with a stopover in Singapore. Then to Yokohama, Japan, from Yokohama to San Francisco, from San Francisco to New York City, and then from New York per ship to England. Well, they actually go to Liverpool and then from Liverpool to London. So you have the visualization. Okay, so I'm not going to read the entire plot because of course we're going to have a lot of that in the game already. I just wanted to give like a bit of a background because the game starts straight away with the journey. But I want to dive a little bit into the background of when the novel was published and what happened at the time. Around the World in 80 Days was written during difficult times, both for France and Verne. So that's the author here. It was during the Franco-Prussian War from 1870 to 71, in which Verne was conscripted as a coast guard. He was having financial difficulties, his previous works were not paid royalties, his father had died recently, and he had witnessed a public execution, which disturbed him. The technological innovations of the 19th century had opened the possibility of rapid circumnavigation, and the prospect fascinated Verne and his readership. In particular, 3 technological breakthroughs occurred in 69 to 70 that made a tourist-like around-the-world journey possible for the first time. The completion of the first transcontinental railroad in America in 1869, the opening of the Suez Canal also in 1869, and the linking of the Indian railways across the subcontinent. It was another notable mark at the end of an age of exploration and the start of an age of fully global tourism that could be enjoyed in relative comfort and safety. It sparked the imagination that anyone could sit down, draw up a schedule, buy tickets and travel around the world, a feat previously reserved for only the most heroic and hardy of adventurers. Following the publication in 1873, various people attempted to follow Fogg's fictional circumnavigation, often within self-imposed constraints. I love that. That's like the modern nerds, really. They're like, oh my god, this is so exciting, I have to try this myself. In 1889, 9, Nellie Bly undertook to travel around the world in 80 days for a newspaper, the New York World. She managed to do the journey within 72 days, beating Verne in Amiens. Her book Around the World in 72 Days became a bestseller. That's awesome. So somebody managed to do it in 65 days, but that's of course, you know, over 20 years later. And things were rapidly evolving at this stage. In 1924, 3 British airmen attempted to fly around the world with various stops along the way. They faced many and varied perils along the way, but finally gave up at the Bering Sea. Yeah, doesn't matter when you do it. I mean, even today, you know, traveling around the world could be a challenge, depending on the, you know, limitations you're setting for yourself. Like some people who try to, you know, bicycle around the world. Now here's a challenge. Bicycle around the world, but use the type of bicycle that we're having in Victorian times. You know, the one with the large wheel at the front and the small one at the back. Use that for full authenticity for the time and then ride around the world. And here it also talks a little bit about how it's actually not like, you know, an original idea necessarily. Because with the advent of modern transportations, of course, a thought that had come to mind for many people. Like for the Union Pacific Railroad Company, Around the World by Steam, which was published in 71, so 2 years before the novel released. But yeah, so much to the background of the game, I would say. Let's get into it. London, 1872. I have entered into the service of a new gentleman. It would seem he's a gambling man. Let me increase the volume a little bit here for the game. I think that's good. Hello, Dr. Darling. Welcome in. What do you mean? We are in the chopper? That's the position from which we're currently looking at the word here. What is this? Is this a David Attenborough documentary? Pretty much. So this is a narrative travel managing game and adaptation of a novel Around the World in 80 Days. And yeah, our aim is to literally, go around the world. Gonna plan our own journey. It's not like entirely a recreation of a novel in that sense. So you can freely travel as you want to. And yeah, we're gonna try to make it back to London. So yeah, that's the plan. I love these, small representations of a city. It's actually quite smart that they take something that's iconic and then make it black, I think, because obviously, this is an indie studio, they don't have like tons of resources. Recreating all those details for every city they're doing would be very time intensive, but it's still like a good representation. And you immediately, know, okay, yeah, that's, this building and that is representative of that country.
Citizen!
London, indeed. We may have left behind Syndicate, but we're not leaving behind London just yet. Hello, Vaora. Welcome in, citizen. Monsieur Phileas Fogg returned home early from the Reform Club, and in a new-fangled steam carriage besides. I helped him down, and the iron-lunged, steam-driven horses clattered away. Passepartout, said he, we are going around the world. So, I like to go by how I kind of like view Passepartout, I guess, from the, mostly from the audiobook that I used to listen to so much. And in that audiobook version, Passepartout and Phileas Fogg have always like a bit of a, arguing type of nature. They're not always, Passepartout's not always following every order to a dot or, it's not questioning anything that Phileas Fogg does. Which of course is ironic because Phileas Fogg is so, when Passepartout gets into his services, it's because the previous valet has been fired for messing up the temperature of the shaving water. So it's like super particular and everything is down to like mathematical precision, as we've read in the summary for the book. And yeah, Passepartout is definitely someone who's gonna a bit challenge that, I guess. So I'm gonna actually question the idea of doing it. Around the world, monsieur? I asked, utterly astonished. We shall circumnavigate the globe within 80 days. He was quite calm as he proposed this wild scheme. We leave for Paris on the A25 in an hour. You are in a jest. I told him in dignified affront. You make mock of me, monsieur. I'm quite serious. Pack an altimeter and my evening jacket. There's not a moment to waste. Okay, altimeter and evening jacket. You, Passepartout, now have funds and your character is now polished. Whatever that means. Quickly, Passepartout, collect our things and we will be off. Okay, so I wanted to have the evening jacket. A well-fitting, neatly tailored Savile Row evening jacket. Prices. The pocket altimeter. Air sickness is psychological. An altimeter can be most reassuring. Okay, then we have wool shirts and trousers. That's like in by default, so I'm gonna keep it in. We could also pack the European shipping timetable. Sender, volume listing, or shipping routes within Europe. I mean, that's of course super handy. Some playing cards suitable for a whist drive or two. And a wax cylinder inscribed with marks describing a recording of a symphony. Playable in Vienna, Copenhagen, and Paris. This is of interest to humorous, stalwart, official, and soldier types. Okay, I'm gonna get the shipping routes here. I'm gonna leave playing cards in the wax cylinder. Ah yes, an evening jacket, exactly what's needed for a weird tour balloon trip. I know, right? If you're traveling the world, you gotta look stylish. It's fashion screed all over again. Our completed Englishman's wardrobe should help us negotiate times of upper class journeys. Alright, let's depart. To Paris via the Amphitrite Express. Actually gonna lower the volume regardless a little bit, because the game tends to get a bit loud at times. The guardsman has space for one suitcase, which will suffice. This seems a bearable route. Okay, so that's like a health system. The more dangerous the route, the more likely we are to die, I guess? I like that you're actually following that in, well, not real time, but, you know, while it's traveling. The mechanical horses race past Piccadilly Circus and Pall Mall faster than a team of thoroughbreds. Even so, the whistle of the A25 was blowing as we pulled up to Charing Cross Station. Reminds you of Oregon Trail a little bit. I heard of that game and saw like very little of it, but I've never played it. It's considered to be quite the classic, isn't it? It was a staple in American schools. Gotcha, yeah. I think I researched that game a little bit for my historical auto run, actually. Because I was thinking of including it. But yeah, maybe I'm gonna end up playing it at a later time. We have no tickets, I exclaimed. That does not signify, Monsieur Fogg remarked over his shoulder as he hurried towards the platform. We must not miss this train. But I dashed to the ticket booth, juggling that there was a moment to spare, where I was frustrated by a queue. Parbleu, was everyone attempting to flee London this evening? Excuse me, I called politely. But I'm in a desperate hurry. The gentleman in front turned in surprise. I beg your pardon? My train is about to leave, monsieur. What a bother, the man replied, and then stepped aside to offer me his place at the ticket counter. 2 singles to Paris, I demanded breathlessly. The guard raised his pen with agonizing slowness. Leaving tomorrow? He intoned. Leaving immediately, I insisted, and hurry. The whistle of a train shrieked once more. I drummed my fingers on the counter and cursed under my breath. From behind me, I heard another whistle. The guard inscribed one ticket, then the other, with a painstaking hand, then passed them to me. The final whistle blew long and slow and damning. The 8:25 train was pulling away. Well, I don't think the guards are gonna stop the train for one person waving, you know? There's gonna be countless of people waving to say goodbye, so... I leapt wildly for the guardrail and hauled myself aboard one-handed, tickets clutched in the other fist. I confess. My friends, I had been an acrobat in my youth, before becoming a valet. Apparently the two professions were not so different as they seemed. We were passing Dartford when I located Monsieur Fogg in one of the compartments. He looked up briefly and returned to his newspaper. I told the ticket inspector that you would be appearing presently, he remarked, unperturbed. Your funds have gone down a little, and your character is now well healed. That would have been so fun to watch. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna play it at some point. I mean, I'm gonna return to playing historical games, even outside of this run. Yes, I can converse while we are traveling. Okay, so we can talk about money or the journey. Well, let's talk about the journey. But tell me, monsieur, what is the purpose of our journey? I've made a hefty wager and I do not intend to lose. Very good. London smog gave way to rolling hills and the pastures of the Kentish countryside, still untouched by the hand of technological advancements. Monsieur Fogg read his paper while I recovered my breath. As afternoon turned inexorably to evening, I discovered that my master was one of those gentlemen who broke their silence rarely, if at all. A guard rapped on our door. A few miles before Dover. We're about to submerge, he warned. Takes some people a bit funny, so watch out. What do you mean submerge? I cried. This is the London to Paris Amphitrite Express, he explained, as though to a particularly dim-witted child. A submersible train? Talk of all the London papers. Oh, our first chance of a dead joke. The Mer train. I'm gonna smoothly pass that by. No dead jokes over here. At least not from me. Ah yes, traveling the globe on a dare, classic. Yeah. And he betted like £20,000, which is the equivalent of £2.5 million today. Rich people problems. But the funny thing is, that's actually pretty much everything he owns. You know, like if he loses the bet, then he's pretty much someone who doesn't have anything anymore. So it's not like, you know, that's just a rich person just departing with like a slight amount of their wealth. He's actually betting like his entire livelihood on, you know, the prospect of getting to do this. There's a 2004 movie based on the same novel with Jackie Chan as Passepartout and Get to the chopper is king in Asia. Yeah, so Maxi told me earlier about the Jackie Chan movie. And I was actually looking today for all the movie adaptations of this, so I also saw him there. But I didn't realize that Arnie was also in that movie, nor have I ever seen it. But I did start watching the 1956 version of 80 Days, so I wouldn't mind actually checking out more, different adaptations of the same novel, because it's one of my favorites. But yeah, that sounds wild. Jackie Chan is Passepartout. So Passepartout is supposed to be French, right? And then Arnie is an Asian king. Interesting. Sounds pretty wild. Of course he did, man, am I right? Yep. 2004 was a weird time. Yeah. But hey, today is also pretty weird. I must have missed it, I admitted humbly. Missed it, he said scornfully. Every inch of her has been examined and stamped with the artificer's seal. This is the world's only death escape locomotive. I pressed my face to the window glass. As the fins above the amphitrite wheels extended with a hydraulic hiss, night fell and we plunged past the end of the track into the freezing water of the English Channel. Your relationship with Falk has strengthened slightly, and your character is now presentable. There we go, day 2, 4 AM. Yes, but we wouldn't have Arnie as an Asian king in 2026 at least. Well, maybe we're getting there again. Let's see what happens in 10 years of now. But yes, in 2026, that's not happening, I guess. The amphitrite plowed through the water overnight and splashed up onto wider gauge French tracks at Calais as dawn broke. Do you have a route in mind, monsieur? I asked, as the water of the channel dried from the compartment windows. I am as yet undecided, my master admitted. The new canal has sped up the shipping route from Suez to Bombay, though perhaps we would take the Trans-Siberian Railway across Russia. Surely not Siberia, I exclaimed. It is so cold and grim, and I have a particular fear of bears. Then we would do well to buy furs, he replied, refraining from rolling his eyes. There are other alternatives. We may also travel overland and across the Black and Caspian Seas. Well, I think that Passepartout might be more concerned with which is the safest. But at the same time, this is about the livelihood and money. And they have to win that bet, so, fastest is certainly more important. But which is the fastest? I believe, said he, that is what we shall put to the test. Parbleu, I scarcely knew what to think. We arrived at Paris Gare du Nord just after 1 o'clock. Automaton porters lifted our luggage and then our persons onto the platform with long, delicately filigreed iron arms. Paris, city of my heart, I was home, but not to stay. So that was the novel route right there. from Suez across the sea. Okay, there we are. Paris. Market. So we could have an extra suitcase here. We'll buy a shaving kit. Traveling cloak. The geometry equipment. And the Chateau de Chem wine. Worth 2,300 pounds in Berlin. What the heck? The bank opens 10 AM. Okay. So we can explore for 4 hours. Well, I wanna buy the extra suitcase. Does it happen like automatically if I do this? I need another case as well. Okay, well, let's buy the geometry equipment. Wait, why is he saying we need more cases? That's 3 already. Doesn't sound like a good idea. Okay, I'm just gonna buy everything here for now. And we might make a trip to Berlin here. Actually sell that wine there. Okay, let's stay in the hotel. I think he's saying if you buy something you need an extra suitcase because you only had one. I guess so, yeah. I was just confused that he was still saying that after the new one I bought, but I guess that's just something he says all the time. I was just like, you need another one and another one? That can't seem right. But yes, I think you're right. That's probably just an oversight in the development. We took a hotel for the night. We will be comfortable here, Monsieur Fogg remarked, but traveling overnight will often be more efficient. Where possible. We cannot travel where it is not possible, certainly, he replied. Still, the surrounds of Hotel Ritz were most enjoyable. The clock is ticking, Passepartout. We must decide our next steps quickly. Okay, let's explore. We had a few hours to spare. I asked Monsieur Fogg if I might enjoy my city before we had to leave. Indeed, and should you learn anything of note, be sure to relay it. I nodded and headed into town. The talk on the streets was of one thing only: an enormous, elegant oval stadium constructed upon the green fields of Champ de Mars and containing the technological marvels, art, amusement parks, and milling crowds of a World's Fair of 1872. My city still wore the scars of the last year's siege. As did I. Paris and France had surrendered to the Prussian army after 4.5 months of grim, blood-soaked resistance in the Franco-Prussian War. Now, this World's Fair was intended to reassure the country's citizen. And the word also that the City of Light was still a great capital of the world. I did not doubt that. Perhaps there was something to be learned from my master inside. So I entered the grand illuminated pavilions of the exposition. I went towards the airship hangar, past a booth with a husband and wife pair selling panoramic hot air balloon rides to eager tourists. I inquired as to their hourly rate, wondering if perhaps a balloon could be encouraged to go a little way east as well and contribute to our great journey. £80 for a half-hour flight, the man responded. I gaped. That is robbery. The man shrugged. We are the only balloonists here today. Are you willing to miss out on the experience of a flight over Paris? I am going around the world, I replied. I hope for much more impressive sights in the days to come. The man nodded and moved on to the next punter with great swiftness. I regarded the airships that filled the hangar behind him. There were a huge number on display from all over the world, and my eye was immediately caught by the gilded Egyptian Ifrit-class airship, painted all over with stylized poppies and feathers. It resembled nothing more than a vast flying sarcophagus. Do people really fly in such things? I asked an exhibitor. Indeed, hundreds of them do, and every day, he replied with a booming laugh. They say the skies of Arabia are crisscrossed with the trails of Egyptian ships. Perhaps one day soon Monsieur Fogg and I would find ourselves flying in such a craft. I returned to the exposition center, my thoughts turning with clouds and engine rotors. Avenues sprawled in every direction between the inviting illuminated pavilions of the exposition. An artificer was replacing an arc light, which had burned out. She first disconnected the strange machine powering the lights. It had a spinning iron wheel which was wound around with a series of amateur coils. I merely watched politely, not wanting to disturb her work. Artificers were a notoriously irritable breed. This is bleeding folly and waste, the artificer grumbled in a thick Yorkshire accent. These gram machines are finicky beasts. The gram machines? I inquired. Well, it's a... never mind. She waved my question away. It's a steam engine, alright. Only it doesn't make steam. Will that do? I hate explaining this stuff to laymen. The harshness of her tone was belied by her gentle touch. As she unscrewed the arc light's globe of enameled glass and replaced the 2 carbon rods within. She reconnected the supply and the 10 Yablokov candles connected in series lit up once more. Will all streets be lit with electricity soon? I asked. There are already a fair parcel of cities lit by electricity rather than gaslight, she retorted. London will probably be last, given old Queen Vicky's prejudice against the Artificers Guild. The Queen is against you? She's just cautious, that's all, the Artificer replied, pocketing her screwdriver once more. Knows real power when she sees it, though, that's what I'd say. She looked at her pocket watch, cursed and hurried off, dropping something as she went. I hurried after her to return it. And she thanked me. My medallion. I need that to get my lunch from the canteen. Thank you. I waved duty done and walked away. Crowds of tourists jostled and heaved past, their eyes wide with wonder. I headed towards the red and purple tents of the Artificers Guild, draped with banners emblazoned with a copper lily sigil. A steam-powered automaton orchestra played gleaming brass instruments, while a mechanical sommelier popped the cork from a champagne bottle and poured out bubbling over glasses for passing tourists. One of the artificers was explaining the guild's credo to a group of sticky-fingered children. The copper lily stamp of the guild is an assurance of safety and quality, the artificer said, before pausing to gently discourage a curious toddler's ambitions of flight. We build and maintain everything from children's toys. She gestured to a nearby clockwork monkey, which was enthusiastically banging a pair of cymbals, to airship engines and even mechanical workers. A mechanical valet could never replace a human one, I called out, smoothing my hands over my label. The artificer gave me a tired look. It is not a matter of replacement. Humans and automata have different skills. An automaton, for instance, will never tire or feel hunger or thirst, and can function happily under the hot glare of a sun. It will not get phossy jaw or cotton lung if it works in a factory. But can it feel loyalty or satisfaction? In a good day's work, I asked. The artificer released the child squirming in her arms and gave me a lopsided grin. Perhaps one day we will build our automata to feel those emotions. There are many in the guild interested in such things. She raised her voice a little, to address the small crowd that had gathered to eavesdrop on our exchange. The Artificers Guild operates across the borders of nation, caste, and creed. I nodded with approval. When we became artificers, we give up our personal loyalties and swear to use our skills only for peaceful aims. The artificer continued, the cleverest engineers and inventors all working together to shape a better future for all the world. I clapped along with the rest of the crowd, carried along by her strident tones and enthusiasm. The artificer caught my sleeve as the crowd dispersed. You seem a confident sort. How was my speech? I rehearsed it all night. Was it too much? It was very stirring, I assured her, and she gave me a bright, grateful grin as I returned to the central square, stopping here and there to gaze at the wonders of the exposition. My feet were tiring and the hour was growing late. I returned to Monsieur Fogg, who was eating a meal of plain boiled beef à l'anglaise. Did you enjoy the exposition? My master inquired diffidently. Having preferred a hearty meal and an English newspaper to all the wonders that the modern world had to offer. We are unspeakably lucky to live in such an age of invention, I declared. It will certainly make it easier to win my wager, Monsieur Fogg replied mildly. I dreamed that night of mechanical wonders and automatons with beautifully enameled faces, knowing little of the strange inventions and stranger peoples I would soon encounter in my journey around the world. You think diffidently means like nonchalantly, like you didn't care much? Stupid word in your opinion? Yeah, I never heard it before, to be honest. But I figured by the follow-up that it's something that he didn't really enjoy too much. Okay, so we have to plan where to go. Well, obviously, we go to Berlin, then we're gonna have the opportunity to sell the wine. But I don't know. If we go to Berlin, then it would make sense to go the Siberian route, which I don't want to do. But I would like to make my way to Suez, I think, actually. So taking the route from like Nice to like Rome, then down, or like Venice and then down.
Lucindoni.
That would be better, I think. Okay, I think I'm gonna make my way down here to Nice, which would cost £55. Munich is 170. Parts in 2 days for. Osalova Serket, welcome in. And good evening. Thank you for the 59 months of resubbing. And how's it going? I do want to spend 2 more days in Paris, or just use 1 day to actually get to Munich.
I'm your huckleberry.
Because maybe there's a chance that we're getting from Munich to Venice quicker. We don't have a route there yet, but it would be worth checking out. Hello Verdex, welcome in, dude. How is it going? I hope you had a good time today with... Oh, you're still streaming, right? But yeah, I hope that China's going well. I see you. But yeah, I hope that you have a good time with China, dude. Thank you for the lurk. If it's still on later, then I'm definitely gonna drop by. Alright, so... I think I'm actually gonna go to Munich because I don't wanna wait 2 days in Paris. You know, every day counts. It's quite expensive, though. But yeah, I'm curious. I wanna see some German representation in this game. Okay, so what now? Bank. We must visit the bank, Monsieur Fogg declared. You have additional funds? Committed to the streak? I know, right? Gotta get those channel points. I am a gentleman. I would extend me credit if required, he replied. But do you suppose I put my entire fortune into a carpet bag under your supervision? Of course. I regarded the bank as we entered. It was a palace of stone and shimmering marble floors, with beautiful windows, fountains, and plants. You wish to withdraw funds, we were told. I warn you, it may take some time. Well, £1,000 tomorrow then. We require £1,000, I said. The manager nodded. I will have to communicate with London first, of course. He apologized. I should have a reply tomorrow. It seems Monsieur Fogg remarked as we left, we have some time to dispose of. Okay, so if we can't pick up the money before the transportation method to Munich leaves, then I guess we're going to Nice. With what remained of a day, I spent a while talking to the hotelier to find out what I could, but gathered little of use. Relations with Fogg have strengthened slightly. Tapping the clock will skip the time forward. Yeah, sure. Okay, so we're gonna pick up the money as soon as... Whoops. No. As soon as the bank opens. We returned to the bank at opening time to collect our funds, and then we were ready to proceed once more. You can manage another case. Well, we have 3 already, so I think we're good. Ah, it's like 6 PM. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's go to Munich. Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, he was saying, get more suitcases. I'm like, I already have 3. Higher space in the guards van. Yeah. Okay, so that allows us to have 5. That's good. The Orient Express. Nice. Boarding the Orient Express was an altogether calmer affair than our race through London had been. Mechanical porters loaded us in through the windows and snapped them shut with a delicate click. The train was very beautiful. A jewel of both European design and European diplomacy, with the Compagnie Internationale des Wagons Lits having persuaded several envious empires to be linked together by the train line. It was one of the many modern developments that had led to Monsieur Fogg's wager. Of course, and so it was no coincidence that we should be aboard. A last long whistle blew, and we began our journey east. Okay, let's ask George Mazard about Munich. I'm sure you know all about Munich. Munich is doing very well these days, I hear. Yeah, I want to get to Venice. Is it possible to go from Munich to Venice? Yes, one can travel in a private car from Munich to Venice, but the journey is a tiring one. Okay. How about Venice, Rome? Is it possible to go from Venice to Rome? Did you realize that you can pick up hammers in Rome you can sell for profit in Moscow? That doesn't seem like the best route to go by. Like first travel south, then travel back north. But of course, you know, technically you can also just try to make like lots of money. bet way, you might lose the bet, but you come out with more money afterwards. Hello there, Saint. Welcome in, dude. Good evening. My master wished to be undisturbed, so as we left Paris, I barred our compartment door, and we set it down to rest. We arrived in Munich a few hours later. Munich. A traveling cloak should be quite valuable here. Okay. Let's plan. Okay, perfect. So the parts tomorrow are £60. And then from Venice we could make our way to Athens. And then from Athens down to Alexandria maybe, and from there to Suez. We depart for Venice tomorrow before 4 PM. Will cost 9 helpful, because it's kinda tiring. Well, we can do that. Otherwise we could go to Vienna. Okay. Let's stay the night here. As I have previously noted, the Franco-Prussian War had concluded but a year previously. Thus my French accent was a disadvantage. During our short time in Munich, the concierge of our hotel was most suspicious when I approached the desk. I was not immune to a certain bitterness. Though I knew it to be futile, France had been defeated and the world had turned over once over sins. Still, in order to avoid any untowardness, I spoke as little as possible during our stay, and I tried to adopt a Germanic rather than Francophone expression to match, with perhaps mixed success if Monsieur Fox's faintly quizzical looks were any measure. I've really no idea what this means, you know, like my character's not dependable. Obviously I have an imagination what that implies, but I have no idea how that is, you know, considered in the game. Why thank you, Monsieur Fogg. Okay, so we could explore for 4 hours, and this departs at 4 PM, so that's enough time here. Let's explore a bit. There was a little daylight in Munich. The sky was shrouded in steam and oil fumes from the tractors and hydraulic excavators in the streets. Workers shouted to each other. Over the din of construction, while the more fastidious citizens wore dark cloaks over their finery. I brushed a few specks of dirt from my collar, absent-mindedly. Far more intrigued by the gleaming machines remaking the city's skyline. Rumor had it that this work was the doing of a Bavarian king. Who had become obsessed with steam power. and was spending an exorbitant sum on imported machinery and engineering works. The Kingdom of Bavaria had recently joined the German Empire. It appeared that the king suddenly had much more time on his aristocratic hands. Power and free time are the most potent and dangerous combination, as our journey, I fear, proves. Okay, let's have a look at the market here. So we already have the European... Oh, that's a train timetable. A magnifying glass. Useful in Venice. I'm gonna spend a lot for now. As long as I can. It's really satisfying, I would say, to see all the routes pop up. But yeah, we're gonna not go to Berlin, even though I could really make a lot of money there. I mean, it would be smart to go there. We would get 2,300 pounds, that's like so much money. Okay, fuck it. I have to go to Berlin. It's my home city. Let's make some money. But actually only parts tomorrow though. Fuck, can I pause? I can't, can I? Okay, fuck it, we're doing this. We're going to Berlin. Make some money. Exactly, Dr. Darling. That's why I gotta see it in a game. Indeed it is, Sheila. Yeah. That's the goal. And you have to make your own route and plan. So I'm gonna waste a bit of time here, just for the sake of making money, but I hope that pays off later though. As night fell, I made certain to repack and iron everything, to ensure everything was shipshape for our inevitable departure. Okay, now we can embark to Berlin. Money, money, money. Yes. Gotta get the money. So we'll take the Traffic steam carriage to Berlin. It has uncomfortable conditions and the open road. This looks like a bothersome journey, but the traveling cloak from our gentleman traveler set should make things easier. Ah, nice. Moi, moneta, coins, gold. It's my lucky day. The amount of times we got to hear that in the past couple of weeks here. We crossed from Munich to Berlin in a patched-up steam carriage. The smoke pumped out of the back through a tall iron chimney, leaving a soot-smudged wake which trailed behind us like a flag. The countryside was the very definition of bucolic. Little farmsteads with cattle bars, coal sheds, and roving automatic tractors digging up the fields. Greetings, Christoph. Don't worry, you won't distract me from the road. Let's ask about Berlin. Also, Dex, thank you for the 50 stream streak, dude. Everyone always talks about the beer and the sausages, but the music, it is incredible. Let's ask about Berlin, Prague. Is it possible to go from Berlin to Prague? Probably, but some buyers will pay well for geometric equipment from Prague. But answer me this. This master of yours, he's very quiet. Is he shy? No. More reserved, I would say. Reserved, shy, afraid. What's the difference? Okay, I think that's gonna be everything. We were on the outskirts of Berlin when a shadow fell over the steam carriage. Christoph blanched and crossed himself, taking his hands from the wheel. I looked up, expecting rain. But the sight that greeted me almost defied description. An Ottoman G-class airship hung directly above a steam carriage, low enough that I could see a black pirate flag waving. Proudly from the stern of the gondola, and the name Caneva picked out in gilt letters in the prow. We were under attack. 2 mechanical claws were dropped off the side of the gondola. Their pincers gleamed threateningly. "Drive, Christoph!" I shouted urgently, but with our suitcases on the roof there was no way to achieve enough acceleration. I twisted round to see the arm, as it swept past my cheek and clammed into the metal chassis of a car. We were swept up off the road. Then we were hoisted upwards. I should have known better than to go to Berlin. This was to be expected. Christoph's prayers grew louder and more desperate, but Monsieur Fogg merely looked out the window as we were hauled up onto the deck of a pirate airship. "We have been abducted, monsieur," I hissed. "By pirates." "Indeed, Passepartout," he replied. 2 muscular crew members pulled us out of the carriage and onto the deck as a red-jacketed woman climbed over the side nimbly. She examined us with dark-eyed intensity before breaking into laughter. "An Englishman, a Frenchman, and a Bavarian," she announced. "It is like the beginning of a terrible joke." She's not wrong. Gonna lose your Berlin profits? Yeah, maybe, honestly. It wouldn't surprise me if I want to have my wine, which I wanted to sell in Berlin. "We are no joke," I exclaimed in affront. "Nor is piracy. I'm Bihai bin Qasim, and this is my ship, the Caneva. I've little interest in your passengers. All I want is part from a steam carriage's engine." "Then what will you do with us?" Captain Qasim's smile spread across her face like an unsheathing blade. What should I do with you?" she asked into the air, stroking her chin in a theatrical villainy. "Take us to our destination," I replied promptly. "After all, you have caused us quite an inconvenience." The crew fell about in laughter as Captain Qasim shook her head. "Really, you are too precious." I decided to try to charm the captain into helping us. Surely she would appreciate the spirit of adventure. Which had driven our wager? A wager, you say? Her hand slipped into her pocket. "I have something that needs to be delivered to the artificer of Thessaloniki in Istanbul. Will you be going in that direction?" "What business do you have with an artificer?" I asked in surprise. "None of your concern," was her trenchant reply. "Well, are you going to Istanbul?" "We may well pass that way," I replied cagily. Captain Qasim seemed to weigh me up for a moment, and then handed me a small carved bead of bright lapis lazuli, closing my fingers over the treasure. Take this to him. It is important. She sucked in a breath. He will reward you handsomely, I'm quite sure. I nodded seriously, sensing the deep sentiment behind his simple words. What could an airship pirate and the famed artificer of Thessaloniki possibly have in common? Give me a book about the pirates. Yeah? I wouldn't mind that. The rest of the journey I spent in interrogation, discovering that merchants in Moscow will pay fantastic amounts for absinthe from Budapest. Finally, the Canava dropped us off a short distance outside Berlin, having no further use for us. Christoph lamented over the scavenged remains of a steam carriage. My father's going to be very angry, he sighed. A rather inconvenient method of travel, being abducted by pirates. Still, we had lost hardly any time at all. My fingers closed over the lapis eye in my pocket. How would I convince my master to journey to Istanbul? Well, you know, we could have also just been killed. The famous Brandenburger Tor. What if you go around the world in 81 days? Well, as long as we're traveling east side, then it doesn't matter, because then we would save an entire day by going against the time zone. So 81 days is still possible. Technically. I don't think it's possible in the game though, but that's of course the plot of the novel, right? That they actually take 81 days instead of 80. And they think they lost the bet, but then they look at the newspaper and they see that they saved the day by traveling east side. So the 2004 movie was apparently a box office flop and nominated for 2 Razzie Awards. Oof. Okay, we have to stay in a hotel here. I have to remember that the time is constantly progressing here. We stayed for the night in a hotel at Adlon on Unter den Linden, the main boulevard in the central Mitte district. From the window, the Brandenburg Gate was lit by upturned gas lamps. I went for a late-night stroll along the avenue, past groups of people drinking at low tables. I sat down beside a pair of ladies, who were each trying to outdrink the other. I joined in their game. A foolhardy move for one accustomed to the petit cognac and not the grand pichet. When I returned to Monsieur Fogg, I was in somewhat less than steady state. Still, I had discovered that one could travel in a private car from Munich to Vienna, but the journey was a tiring one. A useful tidbit perhaps. Okay, so market opens at 7 AM. I want to make sure to hit the market immediately and sell the wine. Holy shit, 2,300. 63 toothed gear. A small black whistle on a neck chain. And the Caribbean timetable. Yeah, let's get this. We're not gonna go to Moscow, so I'm gonna sell this here. And then we're gonna get that whistle. And this one I'm gonna leave here as well. Wasn't the lapis for Istanbul? The lapis was for Moscow. It's sad, right? That you can sell it in Moscow for a lot of money. I was under the impression that I still have the item that I need for Istanbul. But I didn't want to double cross a pirate, no. I wanted to actually go to Istanbul and make good on the promise. Pirate gave it to me? I thought it was another item, to be honest. I thought we were two separate items, but maybe I'm wrong. Hello, Valevi, welcome in. Yeah, I wanna see where I could go here, because time is fast advancing. Okay, we're gonna explore in Berlin.
Mim, 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 mim.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Aura, and I just, gosh, I wish I could actually pause the game, but I can't. Like, the time is constantly advancing. Let me explore and just trigger something so it, like, locks in a time. Okay, so as long as we're in this dialogue window, we can't actually let the time advance further. Also, Levy, thank you for the resub. Oh shit, I accidentally pressed the left button there, of course. But at least time isn't advancing. That's good. Levy, good thing you aren't here right now, because you were downstairs and the grandparents have been watching Bavarian folk music for 2 nights in a row. Jesus Christ. That being said, we just have been to Munich, though. It was one of the stops. So we have gotten a bit of that Bavarian spirit. But yeah, I think you might have been right, Aura, and that it was the item that I was supposed to take to Istanbul. I just associated so much with Moscow that I thought it was a separate item. But yeah, I guess that means you don't have to go to Istanbul anymore. That could be good, I guess. And yeah, I'm doing good. Been enjoying this game so far. I do like the writing, and yeah, it's kind of nice planning, you know, the route and where you want to go next and stuff. But yeah, we've just been abducted by pirates on the way to Berlin, so things have already taken a bit of a turn. Oh yeah, no worries, Aura. But yeah, that's unfortunate, because I didn't intend on double-crossing the pirate. I was just like, I don't need this because I'm not intending to go to Moscow, I guess. But oh well. I wish they had like another description attached to it, being like, you can, you know, use this in Istanbul. But I should have just been like more attentive. We fled really fast after surviving half an hour. I don't blame you, because I'm not even sure I could survive half an hour with Bavarian folk music. Dublin, they tell me, was once filled with a glorious sound of people speaking French. Not so anymore. Now there's nothing but the crashing of gears. Every street corner is equipped with rotaries and wheeled systems that spin glass globes this way and that. Their purpose is quite unclear, but I notice people walking quickly past them, as though each globe contained a watchful, judgmental eye. The mystery persisted until nightfall, when these globes all lit up, and the people of Berlin clustered around the warmth of the globes to drink beer and converse. It seems they work hard here, but they celebrate with equal vigor. We joined the merriment, earning ourselves the offer of a lift all the way to Bucharest from a stocky blonde man who spoke only in dour monosyllables. I sipped at a mug of beer with a thick head and recoiled in horror. These fiends put a wheat in their beer. The afternoon turned to evening, and we finished our explorations of Berlin. I mean, that's very convenient. Journey straight to Bucharest. Yes. So departs tomorrow at 8 AM. Perfect. Anything else here? I guess not. Well then, let's stay another night at the hotel and then making our way to Bucharest. These crazy Berliners, yeah. Working hard and partying hard in equal measure. Before retiring, I spent a few hours walking around. I managed to have my pocket picked to the tune of £22. Well done. Alright, let's embark. Minus 26 health, huh? Okay, so I can only take 2 suitcases with me. Fuck. How did it do this? I just have to like... Okay, fuck it. Oh. Embark. Jesus Christ, the time limit sometimes. That's actually stressful. I have to say they did a good job making you feel under time pressure the entire time. But that was a bit too close. You had this similar issue when you visited Europe. You had to stuff everything into one bag. It was bursting open. Yeah, I can imagine having to fit everything you need for travel in like a single bag. We found our German friend the next morning, polishing his car outside the hotel. The pistons are sparkling, he remarked, showing us his handiwork, and I could only agree. We got into the back, and he started the engine, feeding in oil. The car was a variant of a Bozek design manufactured in Warsaw. German-made, our driver insisted. And I peered at it more closely. It seemed a few improvements had been made to the design. Your own handiwork? I asked, and the man nodded. My name is Gottlieb Daimler, the man said. This is my pride and joy, though there are still details I'm not happy with. He chewed his mustache in thought as he drove. What in particular? I asked, perturbed. I begin to think, he trailed off, that it has too many wheels. Monsieur Fogg didn't take much note of the car and consulted his watch every few minutes. He was, I think, counting each revolution of the wheels and computing our speed. You were also 17, you spent all your money on clothes and had to then get them back to the States. Well, that certainly would be tricky, yes. But yeah, I mean, with, the age of 17, people tend not to make the best decisions all the time. At midday we passed through Prague. The car slowed down to a crawl as we weaved through the crowds. I caught a glimpse of an airship behind a line of houses. And as we watched, it lifted off. To who knew what destination? We headed on up into the mountains of Central Europe. Just give him a close shave. Classic. On the next day we passed through Budapest. I looked at the buildings as they sped by. This place seemed beautiful and developed, but here and there I saw fires burning and the sign of a copper lily sprayed in paint across buildings. I pointed it out to our driver, who nodded. The Artificers Guild. They do not engage in war, except against the Austro-Hungarians. Then he shrugged. But who can blame them? The arrogant must always fight the arrogant. We should jump out here? No. Going to Bucharest. I wasn't sorry to leave it behind. Hearing at the last a noise rather like a muffled explosion. Something my brain hadn't fully developed. Yeah. Same here at 17. Okay, so that's a way to kind of like help him not lose too much health, I guess. By the third day, we were settling into a routine. The mountains peered past, and Daimler drove with careful precision, managing each of the dashboard dials in a complex dance, like a chess master playing through a favored opening gambit. I let him get on with it, and we probably traveled faster for my not interfering. Sometimes the best work a valet does is in waiting. Our long car journey is complete. We step from the car into the gloomy streets of Bucharest just after nightfall. I thanked our driver, politely. He nodded once, such was his manner. Oh shit. It's Q Dog. quick to the decks. The legend himself. How's it going, dude? Thank you so much for the raid and welcome in raiders. How was the rest of AC Chronicle China? I hope you had a good time with it today. Thank you, Levi, for giving a shout out as well. There 2 quick decks. For anyone who hasn't checked out the channel before, highly recommend doing so. Yeah, he's a big fan of the AC games. He's played AC Shadows to a great extent and the full completionist for that game. And now he's checking out the AC Chronicles games for the first time. Currently working on China. It was fun, you got your butt kicked in a few spots, but all in all, progress was made. Big win? Hell yeah, that's good to hear, Dex. And yeah, that's just the name of the game, really. It definitely meant to suffer a little in that game, and oh shit, the time is progressing again. Let me do something real quick here. I always forget about time passing passively in this game, and then I'm like, oh shit. Don't have time to do something I set out to do. But yeah, like that game is certainly tricky in some parts if you're trying to be stealthy, especially. How's around the world in 80 days? Yeah, it's pretty interesting so far. I do love the novel that this game is based on, and yeah, it's interesting, you know, having that now in a game form, because previously I've only ever heard the audiobook or, you know, seen like a movie about it. And this game is also definitely unique because it adds the, you know, year of 1872 with steampunk elements. So you have, you know, methods of transportation that are not entirely historically accurate, like mechanical horses and whatnot. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting mix between like, you know, the novel, the history, and steampunk in a way. Don't let me derail you. I see what you did there. Next up, Night in the Woods. Oh, so have you finished with China? Or is that just like what you're planning in general to play once you finish with China? How dare you, Dex? Yeah, Levi was telling me how she was so excited about the prospect of you playing Night in the Woods that she couldn't sleep for a while. It's just too exciting. Somebody getting to play the game. The Night in the Woods fever being passed onto the next person. So far, is this better or worse than History Channel Civil War? No comparison. Yeah, that History Channel game was one of the worst games I've played in a long time. But I can understand that if you played it when it came out, you know, and it was like one of the first exposures to like historical games that people had, how that can, you know, be a nostalgic experience for most people, but I'm not one of them. Had to interrupt Mario Kart to activist blatant attack. How's Mario Kart going? Are you enjoying the game so far and like the open world exploration? You're still moving through China, but you think you're getting somewhat close to the end? Nice. Yeah, I mean, those games are not overly long. You can definitely finish them in, you know, just a few streams. Also, Deca, welcome in, dude. Thank you so much for the raid. And welcome in, raiders. I was lurking on you earlier when you played Dark Souls. When you were in the Demon Ruins. I hope that went well. I hope you had a good time. And how's your approach going playing with the Decas only? For anyone who hasn't checked out Left 4 Deca for its channel before, I would highly recommend doing so. He's a big fan of games like especially Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil, and is playing them on a regular. But right now he's playing another of his favorite games, which is the very first Dark Souls. And he also recently played or replayed Bloodborne, which was really cool to see. Thank you again, Levi, for giving the shout out there to Deca. Dexa will be played, but there's a timetable, a system, a queue. Yeah. Yeah, you're definitely gonna be finished soon with that game, I think. Maybe even in the next stream. Had like a full-blown meltdown in the chat earlier. Oh yeah? What happened? At least it was very short, it looked pretty old. Wasn't the game released a year or two after the actual Civil War? It definitely felt like it did. But yeah, it was like a 2006, I think, game. And it felt more like a tech demo for the time. I mean, Activision was involved and they're of course known for things like, you know, Call of Duty and whatnot. But yeah, the game was quite basic. I do think, however, that the setting could actually be really interesting for a first-person shooter. Certainly something that hasn't really been, you know, done otherwise. Gotcha, Lavia. I'm looking forward to play a little bit of it myself, because so far I've only played like the first cup, and that was it. Hello there, Pavlocus, welcome in. 80 days, 1 day per stream. Imagine. It would take a while. 80 days to be precise. Had a great time beating Artorius with a 47 damage Deca. Oh, Jesus, dude. And then it's like a small amount of damage plus small amount of range. So you have to get like super close to the boss as well, don't you? Can you at least like, I don't know, parry some attacks and like do like a riposte attack or something? When am I playing my next FromSoft game? That is the question, isn't it? I mean, I have to say, I absolutely loved Dark Souls, like as an experience. It was like definitely frustrating at times. And it's kind of funny, right? Because I actually had a more positive image from the game in my mind playing it than recently when I went back to put the parts on YouTube, right? I went through the like each stream and just tried to kind of like tag the places I visited and the bosses like when I've done them. And rewatching the streams, I actually forgot about how frustrated at times I actually was with the game. Or how often I had to end the stream on like a mission failed kind of like note, I guess. I don't know, the game never made me feel like, you know, I didn't want to continue, I guess. It was more the opposite. It felt like motivating in a way. Trying to overcome the difficulties that the game, you know, presented. What of course kind of like added to it is that I went in mostly blind, like I looked up very little information and mostly in the last third of the game. So that's of course like another tricky thing, having to figure out, you know, where to go and what to do. in that game. But yeah, I mean, I would love to play another FromSoft game. It's just making the time for it, because I do also wanna, of course, carry on the timeline and, you know, get that done eventually. What didn't happen? Fair enough. Oh yeah, no worries whatsoever, Dex. Sorry, I just got to read your message. Thank you for the lurk and for the raid again, and I hope you have a great time at the movie theater. Hope you enjoy. Deck, no parrying, just pure dodging and attacking, the kind of stubbornness you get from owning a Dachshund. I didn't know that you had a Dachshund. Because, fun fact, I do as well. And I'm certainly very aware of their stubbornness, to say the least. Now, my Dachshund is actually a mixed breed, but from observing her and comparing her to other Dachshund, that genealogy is very strong and dominant in her. Oh, that's so funny, dude. But yeah, Dachshunds are the best for. Very entertaining dogs, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, you know, replaying a game you love so much, it's definitely nice to challenge yourself and, you know, try something different. Our little diva, indeed. But she's currently resting and super chill in her crate. She's also super happy about how warm it's been. You know, it's like 5 seconds outside, she's already like looking at me with like mouth open and being like, oh, this is so nice. I love the sun and being melted to death. Gotcha, Decker. Yeah, that's understandable. They're definitely one of the breeds that is notoriously difficult to train, right? And they're very prone, you know, to like issues like excessive barking and separation anxiety. And that's certainly something that we're also dealing with our dog. Like, barking hasn't really been that much of an issue anymore, but certainly was when we got her. And I mean, if she's like in a circumstance that is like unfamiliar to her, then she might also be more inclined to like, you know, bark and shit. But yeah, she does have separation anxiety though, which yeah, it's just something that is also sometimes part of the socialization process, I guess. Because we adopted her when she was already like, you know, like in the late teenage phase. And yeah, she was suffering pretty badly already from separation anxiety then. But yeah, it's something that can be very tricky to, you know, train right. Straight outside of the slightest hint of sunlight. Yeah. The dachshunds are like charged by the sun, pretty much. No Elden Ring today? Fine, I'm off to bed, no other reason whatsoever. Well, if you're off to bed, then I might actually boot up a Souls-like game. But only when I don't, when you're not in chat anymore. And I'm also gonna make a new stream for that, so you also lose the stream streak. Because that's just how evil I am. I will also just boot it up without playing it. That's the ultimate torture. Alright. Decker, luckily your dog is fine with separation. You've reduced the barking a lot, but door knocks can still be an issue. Yeah, that's fair. Our dog is also like, when it's like ringing, you know, the bell, she's definitely immediately alert. She doesn't, you know, bark at that necessarily, but she's like, this is my territory and I will control who's, you know, coming. I will control all comings and goings. Yeah, no worries whatsoever, Dr. Darling. I hope you have a good night, dude, and a good sleep. And, yeah, catch you next time. Monsieur Fogg informed me that Bucharest was known rather widely as Little Paris. He was most certainly trying to make me feel at home. Though my Frenchman's pride bristled a little at the comparison, I took an evening stroll from the hotel through the main boulevard of Bucharest, Podul Mogosoai. It was paved in small cobblestones, rather than macadam or asphalt, but was lined with gas lamps in the latest German style. Gentlemen and ladies paraded their stylish, sprung carriages up and down the avenue. It was undeniably charming, rivaling the Champs-Élysées. Loath as I was to admit such a thing. At the furthest point of my walk I passed a lamp, cunningly fashioned in the shape of a lily. This was the output of the Artificers Guild here in Bucharest. I tried the door, but it was locked, and the lights inside were dimmed. Strange, the hour wasn't so late, I thought. Hey, let's explore. I took a tram to the city center, which was modern in every sense of the word. Electric lights illuminated all but a handful of shop fronts and boyars' residences. Bozek cars sputtered oil fumes into the air, and vendors hawked all manner of little automata on street corners. I saw the lamp of the lily once more. I pushed open the door, and immediately began to cough from the dust in the air. I looked at a dark-haired woman behind the far counter. She seemed startled at my appearance and narrowed her eyes in suspicion. "Suse sava ajut?" "Nu prayas Dio Romaneste?" Yeah, sorry for butchering this. I mimicked a lack of understanding, which caused her expression to darken further. She gave me a piercing look before switching to French. "I am Romanian, not a simpleton," she said curtly. I bowed and introduced myself. She gave her name only as Steinberg, omitting her proper title, which placed me in rather an awkward position. "Madame Steinberg," I hazarded. "Just Steinberg," she corrected sternly. "Now, what do you want here?" It was beautiful. I do quite like the writing in this game. No worries whatsoever, Decker. I hope you enjoy your food. Thanks again for the raid and the lurk. Hope you enjoy, and yeah, definitely treat yourself to some, you know, delicious food after enduring the Decker run with 47 damage against Artorias. So this is the Artificers Guild? I asked, somewhat unimpressed. The guild is not very popular at the moment, she allowed, shrugging. Independence is a current fashion. The guild is too Ottoman for our new prince. Also, Steinberg gave me a look of frank challenge. The guild openly hires Jews. The guild follows its own laws. I nodded. The prince must know that. The prince pretends he doesn't know who keeps his trams running and his gas lamps lit. I browsed the guild wares for a good half hour, but found little of value or interest beyond a single dusty medallion. I asked Steinberg about it, and she stared at me blankly. You don't recognize an artificer's medallion? Where have you been living? Paris, I replied, and I could not help but add, a slightly gander city when visited one of yours. Wow. Bit of a low blow. So you are traveling, she replied. I envy you that. We are going around the world, I replied. As fast as possible too. That is the only good thing. She nodded, then pointed to something at the back of a dusty shelf. There, that bag. Take it. What does it contain? I asked. On the side of the bag was inked a skull and crossbones. It is a preparation of paraffin and crystalline oxygen, she replied. Will you be traveling by Rosier balloon? What is a Rosier balloon? I asked. She shook her head with some amusement. A kind of hot air balloon invented by Rosier. She pointed at the bag. Throw this into the burner. If you do, you'll find the extra elevation will lead to considerable extra speed. I took the bag. Gingerly but gratefully. The artificer smiled a strange, dark smile. Then I took my leave of Steinberg and wished her well. With sincerity. A most extraordinary person. I walked back to Monsieur Fogg. Alright. I guess I'm going down to Thessaloniki. Departs tomorrow. At 2 p.m. We could also negotiate here for the departure costs. Why is it saying 660 pounds? What the fuck? Okay, never mind. So we could buy a scented kendo. Ah, yeah, this is valuable in Thessaloniki. Oh, let's buy this. Driving goggles, perfect for the dust of the worst open roads. And a pressure gauge. Portable pressure gauge, good for diagnosing problems with steam systems. Yeah, gonna buy all of this. 660 pounds of emissions. Yeah, I mean, always traveling. You gotta also do something good for nature in return. We took a room and set it in, and I spent a few hours polishing shoes in the lobby, earning 71 pounds in fees and tips. Nice. Alright, let's make our way to Thessaloniki. From Bucharest, we hired a Phaeton to take us through the mountains and into Greece. Florin, the driver announced abruptly, sticking out his hand. I shook it, though it was covered in oil and engine grease. Get in, he said, jerking his thumb at the carriage. We did so, and he began the process of igniting the boiler inside the horse. Sounds good, Levy. I hope you have a good rest, and hopefully can sleep well tonight. Gotcha, yeah, that definitely makes sense. Get like a good early start done. But yeah, I hope you have a good night and a good rest, and I will talk to you very soon. Is this thing safe? I asked. Hasn't killed me yet, Florin replied. Then he released the handbrake and we began to crawl away up the road. Okay, let's talk about Thessaloniki. You might be interested that you can get to Istanbul from Thessaloniki aboard the Istanbul Express. Okay. We rode the first day in relative silence, watching the forest pass us by on either side. I peered into the depths, glad of a decent road. There must have been a time when travelers would have had to cut between the trees themselves. Evening approached. We can drive on through the night, Florence said, or make camp and continue in the morning. Let's drive all night. Very well. The driver agreed and we tried to sleep as the car rumbled and rocked its way onwards through the dark, gaining us a few hours. It was not a comfortable ride for any of us, I think. So you're going to Greece? Our driver asked when I woke up to find ourselves still moving along. We're going to Istanbul. Florin giggled. You're going from Bucharest to Istanbul via Greece? Did you ever see a map? Fair point. There's something we need to do first. He shrugged. Like traveling then, do you? I despise it. I yawned, all but to split my head. I know a man in Athens, Florin grumbled. He runs boats. The contempt in his voice was all too clear. Boats to where? Cairo, I think, Florin smiled. I don't do boats. How might we find him? At the docks, he replied, with pleasingly little sarcasm. His name is Sophos. I will put a word in for you when I talk to him tonight. We would appreciate that, I replied. Florin giggled. I do not think he was quite sound in the head, but if he had a good route onwards, then perhaps that didn't matter. A few hours later, we crested the last rise and the glittering Aegean Sea was on the horizon. We had crossed the breadth of Europe, but there was a whole world left to travel, and Florin was right, we were not going in a straight line. The scented candle could earn us well here. Okay. Let's plan. Yeah, it would probably be smarter to skip Istanbul and actually make our way down to Alexandria if we had a good connection here. The people of the city are crazy. They go out in the evenings to tear down what remains of a city wall. I've never seen such a thing. Granted, it is not as though the walls keep anything out. They encircle barely half a city and are easily scalable due to the quantity of rubble piled up this side and that. Knock knock. Hello Varrot, welcome in dude. And how's it going? I hope you're having a good morning? Is it morning? Or is it maybe still night? And yeah, I'm doing quite well. Been enjoying this game so far. It's certainly different to any games I've played recently. Completely narrative based, and yeah, you kind of have to plan your own journey around the world. But it's quite fun. I love the novel that this is based on. So yeah, earlier today I've been also looking up all the movies that have been based on the novel adaptations. And Maxi and Dr. Darling have said earlier that there's a movie from 2004 based on this novel that feature Jackie Chan as the valet to the main character. And then apparently Arnie is playing an Asian king or something in that movie. I've never seen it, but I don't know, maybe you have, since it features Arnie. Doing good, almost 6:30 AM, gotcha. But that's good to hear, dude. I'm glad you're doing well. Nice to hear. That's good that you're enjoying it so far. You saw a bit of one of them, but one of the older ones. That's true, they're both in that version. Yeah. I kind of want to catch up on some of the movie adaptations, so I've been starting with a 1956 version, which I guess is one of the earliest ever to adapt a novel into a movie format. And so far quite enjoyed it, I have to say. There's apparently been also a 2021 version with David Tennant. He used to play the Doctor in Doctor Who for a while. But that one is supposed to be quite bad. And just entirely on the drama side of things. But that would be a shame, because I think this story has a lot of comedic potential. I stopped a young woman and asked what they were doing. But she only laughed in my face. "You may not know our city now," she replied, not in the least bit answering my question. But soon we will encompass the entirety of northern Greece. I remarked that it seemed unlikely. But she didn't stay to listen to my point, preferring to raise the sledgehammer she had brought along with her with the occasion. She said about the ancient walls once more, and I scurried away lest I lose my head. From a piece of flying stone. Okay, let's explore a little bit. We gotta find some new routes to travel here. Ideally, we're looking for a route down to Athens maybe, and from Athens to Alexandria. No, not the hat. It was a nice hat. Indeed. kind of funny because every time I hear, you know, the word in a game now, I have to like immediately think of Dr. Ronnie. Ah yeah, so we can sell the scented candle here for 470 pounds. Oh yeah, let's do that. So we could get the Canadian train timetable, that would be very good. And Egyptian cigars. Yes. Okay, let's go ahead and explore, yes. Ah yeah, perfect. This head stealing a red tattoo was a brilliant idea. More games need to give a player that ability. Yeah, that's just something I love about Rockstar games sometimes, you know, the small details that can lead to like fun playthroughs like that. Of just, you know, looting all the heads in the game. It would be nice if you could have like a full-on collection of all the heads. And being able to change them like on the fly. Hello Valucinda, welcome in. And thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, raiders. How is it going? Did you watch many dogs today? I hope you had a good time with the game. Did you focus on story content only today? Because I think on the weekends you're doing like more story content, aren't you? But yeah, welcome in everyone. Hello there, Layla. Thank you for joining in with the raid. Hello there, Babs. Good day to you. Or good evening, I should say. Hello there as well, John. Welcome in. Howdy, Necro. Welcome in as well, dude. How's it going? And Lucinda, of course, welcome in. You watched all the dogs today, but now they're watching you. That's how it goes sometimes, you know.
Varlet!
If you watch someone, then you might have to deal with being watched back. Around the word, try leeches. Maybe that's gonna go faster. This is you're in the final mission of a final act and it's a whole ass ordeal, as you typically say, so you will finish it next weekend. Ah, gotcha. That is definitely fair. But that's really good progress. I didn't think you would get so close to the ending already today. But yeah, that final mission definitely has it in it. But that's gonna be an easy one for the next stream to get all that done. Hello over ACDC, welcome in as well. How are you doing? You finished the entirety of Act 4 today. Very nice.
I want to see the Alliance map.
Yeah, I definitely feel like every time I play Watch Dogs 1 that, you know, the first half of the game in terms of like acts, you know, takes a lot longer than once you get to the ending stages. But yeah, I mean, the amount of missions are also not equally divided between the acts as well, right? And the final act is like only one mission, isn't it? The insult play. Oh, I do have some insults for you, Seraph.
You're pathetic.
That one.
Piss off, you lot.
And that one.
Get away, beggars.
Get away, beggars?
I do not ask for much. A bit of coin, that's all.
But you don't understand, I need the money. That's good to hear, AC/DC. And yeah, I've been doing good. Been keeping well. Thank you for asking. So now definitely you would just be collecting and saving up all your patience for it. You knew it had the potential to be a big pain in the butt, so you were prepared to need one more stream. That's definitely fair, yeah. Yeah, and if you're already like deep in a stream, you know, like it's definitely nicer sometimes just leaving that for another time in the future and, you know, getting into it with fresh eyes and newfound energy.
And eat your onions every day.
Right.
Yes, you gotta have your onions every day. But yeah, I bet that next time will go much better once you reattempt the mission. A beggar? Money, my lucky day. Yeah, we've been already talking a little bit about those quotes earlier today because this game also has a money mechanic, of course, as you can see on the bottom, on the top left. Like in the center, top left. So we definitely have to be a bit, like we have to plan about our budget and what we're taking with us, what we're selling and buying. And yeah, 80 days is going pretty good. I took a bit of time at the start to kind of explain a little bit, you know, the book or the novel that this game is based on, and the background of the writer behind it as well. So it took a bit of time to introduce the setting and, you know, the novel itself. And yeah, we're currently on day 15, so we're still relatively early into it. The game is actually rather short, but since I'm, you know, manually reading everything out loud, and streaming it, of course, takes substantially longer than you would just quietly reading, you know, this type of game. But that's something that I've always noticed with like narratively focused games. You know, when you're streaming and reading it, it would just take much longer. But I've been really enjoying it. The writing is very good. And it's definitely, like, they did a good job making you really think about what route to take next and how to plan the journey. And it's very satisfying, like learning more about the places you visit and then about the routes you can take from there. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that aspect about the game as well, for sure. But yeah, so we started out in London, and from London we went to Paris. From Paris we went to Munich, Germany. Then I thought about going further south because it would have made more sense, but instead I went into my hometown, Berlin, because I could sell some French wine there for a lot of money. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna let that money slide. But then on the way to Berlin, pirates abducted us. But they weren't too unfriendly of pirates, so they actually got us to Berlin in the end. But yeah, we've been through a bit of a journey, and now we've arrived in Bucharest. And from Bucharest we went to Greece. So yeah, we're getting there, like traversing Europe ever so slightly and making our way towards Africa and India. Elephants never forget to eat the onions. True life wisdoms right there. Moneta, dinero. It's my lucky day. And yeah, for anyone who hasn't checked out Lucinda's channel, if you didn't come with a raid, I'm just gonna give another shout out here for anyone that missed it earlier there. Definitely recommend doing so. She's a big fan of games like Resident Evil, Bioshock, Dying Light. But right now she's doing a community viewer pick with Watch Dogs, which is her very first time playing for the game. And yeah, she's also played for the Assassin's Creed games a while ago, and is a lovely streamer, so definitely recommend checking out her channel if you haven't before. A double shout out. Indeed. It wasn't until you mentioned like thank you for the shout out that I was like, oh shit, I totally missed that shout out when Rod was giving that earlier, because it was in the middle of the raid messages. Thank you again, Rod, for giving that shout out initially. I took a few hours to explore, investigating the various options for how we might continue our journey. Okay, hold on. So we can make our way to Athens here, and from Athens to Alexandria. Parts before 6 PM. Yeah, we're gonna do this. Wonder if we get to hear any Malaka while we're on the way to Athens. The train wound up the coastline of Greece, passing stepped olive groves on one side and the sparkling Aegean Sea on the other. Monsieur Fogg did not look up, but I could not look down. Such beauty, such magnificence. The train rattled along at its own pace. The view spoiled by the endless construction work. The Greeks were building a bridge across the Aegean Sea and had been doing so for many years now. As one collapsed, another with a new design was begun, and now the line of beginnings of bridges was in itself beginning to form a bridge. Luckily the train stayed on dry land, and we arrived in good time. You wonder if Cassandra helped with that? Well, she was certainly alive to do so. There we go, Athens. That might look familiar to some of you. Hello there, Arthur. Welcome in, dude. Yeah, the stream is going good so far. Enjoying the game here. Trying to travel the world in 80 days. How are you doing, dude? Okay, so Alexandria is... I have no idea when we can actually traverse there. I guess you can go to Cairo directly then. Tomorrow at 8 AM, okay. Yeah, let's do that. That's good to hear, Ave. Glad to hear you doing well. Rod, first stop, get your ear chewed off by Socrates. Yeah, have a bit of a small philosophical discussion. Why not? That's gonna wake you up in the morning. My master was not, as a rule, particularly interested in the fabulous locales and exotic cities we journeyed through. Athens was the exception that proved the rule. His sudden interest was not limited to the city. He fixed me with a look. Do you speak Greek? I had spent a glorious summer with a Greek contortionist, who could do the most elegant Arabesque penché. My oui, monsieur, I smiled sharply, repeating a few of the phrases taught to me by my paramour. Monsieur Fogg blushed vermilion. That passepartout, he cleared his throat, is a very specialized vocabulary. That's the vocabulary that Ezio would have if he would be visiting Greece. Despite my master's grasp of ancient Greek, the demotic variant more commonly spoken on the streets eluded him. We were reduced to asking for directions through a combination of mime, apposite quotations from Homer, my master, and half-remembered flattery, moi encore. We picked our way through the labyrinthine streets of Aplaca and up to the Acropolis. I gazed at the Pantheon columns. It was a magnificent sight, even in ruins. I could only imagine how it must have looked 2,000 years ago, the jewel in the crown of the Athenian Empire. It is exquisite. I breathed, interrupting Monsieur Fogg's silent reverie without quite meaning to. Alas, our quite companionable moment did not return. Relations with Fogg have deteriorated. He's like, goddammit, Passepartout. Why do you always have to ruin the silence? But so you agree that to not agree on something is to agree on the other subject you are disagreeing on? That's pretty much Socrates in a nutshell in Odyssey. And he's always finding a way from not being too involved himself, but rather always treating you as a subject in his own like studies. So it's less like, you know, like evenly leveled discussion between, you know, two partners. It almost seems like more of an observational study that Socrates is doing with a player. It's like an interview, if you will. Okay, so gotta depart early here if we want to catch the next opportunity here with a ferry. Let's do it. Yes. We found our way to Sophos' ferry terminal in good time, and waved a greeting to the owner, who was visiting to inspect his fleet. Passepartout, he cried cheerfully. You will join with me and drink some Retziner? Monsieur Fogg lifted an eyebrow but said nothing. I would, I replied, but I cannot. We must continue our journey. Sophos nodded. Of course. I will not delay you. We clambered aboard Sophos' ferry, finding some space between barrels of olives and large packing crates that smelled of fish. Soon the rope slipped from its ring, and we were away. Yeah. And you can't imagine the feeling I just had just listening to that success sound from The Witcher. Because I'm really in the mood to play that game again. But I won't, because I don't want to dedicate another few months just to play Witcher. And pause all my other, you know, potential projects. But yeah, I really do miss playing that game. Like, if I have the time, it's definitely one of those games I could play on an annual basis. You are like The Witcher in this game? It's kind of funny because you also have to pack your bags in this game, right? And one of the first things you could take with you from London was playing cards. But I didn't took them with me. Maybe I should have. So we could play some Gwent with like random strangers we come across on our journeys. You were just saying you're in the mood to play The Last of Us games again. I don't blame you either. I absolutely loved The Last of Us. Especially part 2. Like, hands down one of my favorite stories in gaming. And I know that's a bit of a... how do you say? Controversial opinion, maybe? Because the game is so dividing. But I absolutely loved how consequential The Last of Us Part 2 is. And I absolutely love the immersion that the game also offers. Playing cards seems to be a universal thing, now just trying to find a game that others know how to play too. That is true. That is a tricky thing. Okay, let's learn a bit about Cairo. Yeah, I would like to get to Suez. One can drive by private car from Cairo to Suez, but the journey is a tiring one. Every journey by car is apparently tiring in this game. What about Suez, Bombay? Okay. And what about Aden? Okay, so we can sell evening jackets from Aden. So that's something we could buy there at the marketplace. Aden mentioned? Aden is everywhere. We were away, next stop Cairo and the coast of Africa. A few hours later the sun was lowering. The sailors were stretched out on the deck, enjoying a moment of calm. An hour or so later, they were swarming the rigging and the masts, and bringing us slowly into the bustling port of Alexandria. As we came ashore, I gasped at the sight of a towering lighthouse. There blazed a beacon of incredible golden light across the water. I had understood the lighthouse to be long since destroyed, but I shrugged. No doubt I had misunderstood. Yes, it has been destroyed. But as I said, you know, this game isn't super historically accurate. But that's of course on purpose. This is like an alternative, you know, steampunk history here we're dealing with. The sailors gestured for us to follow. From the port it was a short carriage ride to Cairo. And we arrived in good time. Does this look familiar? I feel like at this point I'm just purposefully going to locations that have been mentioned or like shown in Assassin's Creed. Okay, so from here we can plan. I'll probably just go to Suez and from Suez to Jeddah, then to Aden, and then to Bombay because that's the route that they took in the novel. And right now I have a chance to recreate the route, so if I can, I'd like to do it. So this departs at 9 PM tomorrow. That gives us quite a bit of time to explore Cairo before we depart. let's book a hotel. Let's go to SeaWorld. But there's only desert here. Cairo is attempting to modernize, following the Parisian model. I cannot understand how so many people believe they can put up avenues of trees and declare themselves French. The result is a mishmash of the European and the Arab. Of course, if people do not care, it most certainly do not dress like Parisians. I was browsing the souk when I felt a hand dip into my pocket. I turned around fast. But the little girl whose hand was in my pocket was clearly well practiced and slid between my knees to run away. I was 30 pounds poorer. Good for the kid. Well done. You're gonna be future assassin, I can see it. The pickpocket. Okay, we're gonna explore a little bit here.
Fucking hell!
Fucking hell.
What in God's name is that?
I spent a few hours in exploration, learning ways in which we might travel onwards. Okay, at the marketplace we can buy. Let's let me see if there's anything we can sell here. Could be worth a lot. Hey, we could definitely get the silk, because we're planning to go to Bombay. We have 8,200 pounds in Baku. Let's buy some Darjeeling tea. And the ginger tablets. I'm gonna leave the gold ring here for now. Okay, let's depart for Suez here. Oh shit, I can only take 2 suitcases. Fuck. At 9 PM. Okay, I still have a bit of time here. Let's sell some stuff. Okay. That we have to do. Found a private driver to take us to Suez. The journey was quick enough, the roads here in Egypt are surprisingly well maintained and the car itself ran efficiently. I asked the driver how she kept it so well. And she smiled with pleasure at the compliment. There are many artificers here in Egypt, she replied. There always have been, of course. The guild was founded on the banks of the Nile. Is that so? She nodded. But of course, what do you suppose papyrus was invented for, but to draw blueprints? She took her eyes from the road a moment to look at me. Then she shook her head and returned her attention to some extremely nimble driving. Okay, Suez. It's 9 p.m. And from Suez, wanna go to Aden. Parts in 2 days at 2 p.m. Okay. So we could pay 540, so it actually departs tomorrow. I don't know, man. I think I'm actually gonna stay here 2 days. Let's book a hotel. The uniformed lamplighters lit the gas lamps as the sun set over Suez, bathing the wide avenues of the city in a smoky yellow glow. I wondered about the city, whether Suez's newfound fortune and wealth would prove enduring, and what would grow in place of the stylish hotels and manicured gardens if it did not. I took a cup of tea in an extravagant Lido tea shop in Suez. It was packed to the brim with rich traders and adventurers, drawn to the small port by the recent openings of the Suez Canal. So that's an actual historical thing that happened, right? And which open up the discussion about the idea of traveling the world in 80 days. The Suez Canal opening and also the railroads across the Americas and in India as well. And that all happened around the late 1860s, early 70s. No worries whatsoever, Rod. Thank you so much for dropping by and saying hello. I hope you have a good rest of your morning. And yeah, I'm glad that you had some interest in the game as well. For anyone watching, if you haven't checked out Rod's channel before, then I would highly recommend doing so. He's currently doing a playthrough of Assassin's Creed Revelations. And for that game he's doing an Haute Ezio approach, which basically means that Ezio can't run everywhere, but he has to, you know, walk. And he also can't use any recruits. So often it ends up in, you know, if guards want to chase him, then I guess we just have to deal with Ezio in combat type of deal. But they're a great streamer, so definitely recommend checking out his channel if you haven't before. And that's no worries either for the shoutout, Rod. We will catch you next time, and I hope you have a good one. I was attempting to eavesdrop on an argument between a lady wearing a jewel-bordered hijab and an extravagantly moustached Egyptian man when a dark-skinned personage in an impeccably tailored but oil-stained jacket entered. I caught the well-dressed man's eye, and he came over to my table and greeted me in a softly accented French. Olivier Lapointe. Dirigible pilot at your service, monsieur. Passepartout, valet and traveler, I replied. A traveler then, he shook my hand. My ship, the Gamila, departs soon on her maiden voyage. Where is she headed? I asked curiously. Monsieur Lapointe sipped his tea. Not far. Our destination is the provincial capital of Khartoum in Sudan. He gave me his card and a vivid description of the Gamila. I had no doubt that I could spot Monsieur Lapointe's airship at the docks. If we should desire to travel next to Khartoum. Ah yeah. So I don't think it makes much sense to go further south here, to be honest. But that's of course, you know, the game doesn't just want you to travel the world, it wants you to explore the world. But I'm gonna try to, you know, find, of course, a good route to end the game in under 80 days. Okay, we could buy a hand mirror, a sailor's cap. I mean, the sailor's cap would be good for the journey we're about to undertake, I guess. Let's also get the magnetic compass. And that's it. So if I got the shipping routes once, I wonder if I can just sell it and they're still gonna be available for me. Like if it's literally just about, you know, marking them on the map and then we can sell it afterwards. I'm not too sure about that. Whatever shall suffice for now. Yeah, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Okay, let's stay another night here. With the last light of the evening, I help the kitchen staff to clean, earning £64 in fees and tips. Alright, let's go. Oh hell yeah, we completely negate all the negatives of a journey, like baking sunshine, high temperatures and mild seas. Nice. The dock was crowded with people, cheering one and another along. There was much chatter and many embraces, as I suppose long-distance journeys must always attract, but none of the attention was for us, of course. Or now perhaps not. I fancied I sensed a pair of eyes, fixed on us as we made our way aboard the Mongolia. Nice, so this is where it's kind of like leaning more into the novel again. Because in the novel, Phileas Fogg, the gentleman that we are a servant to, you know, he's actually suspected of having robbed the Bank of England. And people are thinking, or at least some special agents are thinking, that he's kind of like trying to run away. So that like literally happened like the day before or so, you know, the robbery, and then, you know, this rich gentleman is like traveling far away, which raises suspicion. So I reckon that's what is happening here with a pair of eyes that are fixated on them. But when I looked about, they were gone. As though whoever had been watching us had quickly ducked away. Okay, what about Aden, Bombay? You might be interested that some buyers who pay well for bolts of pure silk from Bombay. I did know that, but thank you. Did you know you can obtain tobacco in Madras? Extremely available in Hong Kong. Okay. Yeah, I'm good. The steamer Mongolia was built of iron, of 2,800 tons burden and 500 horsepower. She sailed as grandly as a duchess out of the port of Suez. A magnificent sight, I cried, watching the grand hotels and gazetted gardens of the city recede into the distance. Monsieur Fogg looked upon them dismissively. There will be much more sights to come, for we have quite a distance yet to travel. My master, I was learning, was as unvarying as the ship's chronometers. I longed to see some warmth or liveliness in his expression, but feared I would find no such thing under the impassive facade. Without doubt, he was an eccentric gentleman upon an even more eccentric quest, but he was my eccentric gentleman, and I was determined to do my duty by him, come what may. Monsieur Fogg spent his days playing whist with Sir Francis, a tall, fair fellow who was an old India hand, as they said in the trade. It seemed Sir Francis was travelling the full distance to Bombay. Good town, he declared, good artificers too. On the evening of the second day we approached the city of Jeddah on the east coast of the Gulf. Are we stopping? I asked the sailor, who shook his head. We don't need to refuel so soon, he said. We can get as far as Aden before we need more coal. Still, we appear to slow down, perhaps simply to prevent our wake from damaging the harbour defences of a town. I was taken by the sudden thought that perhaps we could put ashore here, and asked my sailor friend about the matter. We could drop a boat if we had to, he said, if it was an emergency. I nodded and let the idea pass. The Mongolia would take us fast. Indecisiveness was not what Monsieur Fogg would want. I befriended an extravagantly whiskered fellow passenger who introduced himself to me as Monsieur Fix, and evinced a flattering interest in my travels. So that's the special agent that is tasked to observe Monsieur Fogg, if he is indeed the robber of a Bank of England. "You are making a tour of the world in 80 days?" he exclaimed, eyes wide as saucers. "It is a wager," I confirmed mournfully. "Gentlemen are strange creatures, and given to stranger fancies to fill their time." Monsieur Fix looked suddenly rather shrewd. "It must be an expensive business, all this travel." "My master is a gentleman," I said repressively, for I considered it gauche to discuss financial matters. "Yes, of course." My companion agreed laughingly, though his moustache twitched like a pendulum. "All the same, what a singular endeavour." Monsieur Fix was a most congenial fellow, and possessed of all manner of useful knowledge. I asked him what he knew of Bombay, the Mongolia's final destination. "I was stationed in Bangalore during my time in India, not Bombay," he told me, smiling. "I spent much of my time playing cricket. The colonials take the game seriously, almost as seriously as the natives themselves." Monsieur Fix dragged me up on deck, saying only, "You will not want to miss this, my friend." Through the sea mist I saw the immaculate city of Aden, nestled in the caldera of a volcano, bounded by sheer black cliffs and crystal blue sea. I was struck utterly dumb by the magnificent sight, a most unusual occurrence. "Perhaps your master would want to see it also?" Fix asked. "I could send one of the deckhands to fetch him." "My master is rarely fetched," I replied a little argly. "Indeed not," remarked a voice from behind us, and I turned to see my master emerging from below decks. Monsieur Fix stiffened and glanced at my master. but with what implication I couldn't say. We docked and I made a point to find Fix before we disembarked. He pumped my hand and remarked, "See you again, perhaps." Rather ominously, I thought. Okay, so can we sell anything here? Oh yeah, the evening jacket is like very popular here, isn't it? Oh, let's sell it. Part of a seafarer set. Okay, let's get the pair of galoshes. Let's get the hairbrush. And that's gonna be everything. And yeah, this is gonna be where I will go and call it for tonight. Last saved in Aden on day 23 at 7 PM. Yeah, perfect. Alright. So, that's gonna be everything I will be covering for tonight as part of this game. But yeah, I mean, we made some decent progress, I guess. You know, about 20 days now into it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to continue. Like, this game has definitely been good fun so far. Obviously, it's a lot of reading, but I like the way it's written. And yeah, I'm curious if we can make it in time to get around the world in 80 days. No worries of a stream, Ave and Lucinda. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you again so much also for the raids, Lucinda, but also Deca and Dex. Thank you also for the resubs today as well at Maxi, Selcat and Levy. This music, yeah, that's the main theme for this game. I do quite like it, I have to say. Definitely gives that kind of like feeling of adventure and exploring. It's definitely fitting. Alright, so we're gonna go and raid out to Arctic today. He's playing some The Isle, where you basically play as dinosaurs, and I think it's also multiplayer based. If you would like to join us with a raid over to Arctic, feel free to copy and paste the raid emotes I put into chat. And yeah, I will catch you next week for more of 80 days. I reckon at the pace that we're going, it would take us 3 to 4 streams to get the game done, honestly. But we'll see how it goes. I reckon next time we're definitely advancing a bit faster at least. But I do also wonder if we actually are getting, you know, through the objective like maybe much quicker than 80 days even. But yeah, we still have a long journey in front of us. I mean, we still have to get to, you know, like Asia, like deep into Asia, and then America, traverse the entire country. Then we still have to take the ship back to London. The Blee Lee raid, indeed. Blee to the Lee, you and me. The classic Arctic Lee raid. I catch you guys next time.